All right, welcome to the next round of the NRG Series MTGO Invitational. This is the final match of the left bracket in the round of 16. And I'm Joe Lossett, and I'm joined this time by Will Krueger.
Hello, everybody. My name is Will Krueger. I play a lot of Magic Online, and I play a lot of Paper Magic on the NRG Series, if you don't know who I am already. And I'm excited to be commentating on this tournament.
All right, so the match we're going to be watching today is Justin Brickman versus Stanislav Goluvchuk. And we're going to be go ahead and take the deck list right now. So Justin Brickman is bringing humans to the match, a staple of the modern format going back several years. A few differences if you're an observer of the deck and how it's changed through time. Justin is only playing 3 copies of Phantasmal Image and Kitesail Freebooter, which may be a little bit unusual, and he's managed to fit in a pair of Mayor of Avabrook and also a copy of Keswick Malcontents, which is not something that's maybe expected in every copy of the stock list. Well, what do you think about that? If you're playing against humans, would you expect your opponent to have some of these cards in here?
Yeah, so Mayor of Everbrook was a card that was popular at the very beginning of Humans, like right even before Unclaimed Territory was printed. It was just a 4 of because there wasn't a ton of time put into the deck, and it was just a human lord for 2 mana, so of course you want to play that. But as time has gone on, people have ended up cutting it in favor of more disruptive spells. But by playing the Mayor of Everbrooks, Justin has sacrificed some of his aggression, or sacrificed some of his disruptive elements, like the Phantasmal Image and the Freebooter, for a little more aggression, which means that he's probably just trying to attack down the Primeval Titan decks.
All right, so we'll see how this matches up with Stanislav's deck, which Will's going to go over.
Yeah, so Stanislav is playing Black-Red Lightning Skelemental, which is not a deck that you see very often in Modern, but it's certainly a sweet one. So the really key card here is Unearth. Even though there's only 3, that's just because you don't want to draw multiples. You want to draw like 1 or so a game, maybe 2. And basically the whole point of this deck is to just grind your opponent out by 1-for-1ing them with Kroxa, Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, and Inquisition of Kozilek. Liliana the Veil goes into any deck where you want to 1-for-1 them as many times as you can. And then Unearth, the key card that I was talking about earlier, is really the reason to play 4 Seasoned Pyromancer and 4 Lightning Skelementals, because just getting to put one of those into play for 1 mana is such a huge board swing. If you can also play it in addition to another spell, and you can see Ransack the Lab sort of piecing it together. You can put a Seasoned Pyromancer in your bin and then unearth it in the same turn.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. One reason, because I've played a lot of Unearth, or at least for a brief period of time, I played a lot of Unearth in Legacy, and also because Ransack the Lab, which is kind of a newer color-shifted version of strategic planning, is not a card that we see often in competitive play. And so I'm excited kind of how this deck kind of comes together, and Unearth has just so many targets. Even Kroxa, it won't stay in play, but it is a discard and a bolt of the opponent a lot of the time. So I think this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Do you have an opinion on which of these decks is kind of favored?
It looks, on paper, it looks pretty good for the Black-Red Skelemental deck, I would guess. They have 7 1-mana removal spells, and then we've got a K-Command and a Dreadbore. The discard spells are not great, but Liliana the Veil, plus all those discard spells, plus all the removal spells, seems pretty good to me. But
yeah, I think so too. I think the 1-mana removal spells to kind of break up the human synergies are going to be valuable. But theory aside, we're gonna find out right now how things play out.
Yeah.
So here we are for game 1. Justin is going to be on a mulligan to 6 here, and we'll see how things develop.
Yeah, I like mulliganing to 5 there for Brickman. I like mulliganing any 7 or 6 card hand that doesn't have a 1-mana creature or an Ether Vial. You just really want to do something on turn 1. This is a 6. Okay, I would have mulliganed this for the reasons I stated earlier, especially considering it's on the draw. Often, a turn 2 play being your first play is too slow. I would go to 5 for that, honestly, with the London mulligan. I would have considered differently with the Vancouver mulligan a year ago. But
sure. And this is, the players do not have their opponent's deck list available, so they are playing in the dark. And so Stanislav here on the plays just has a tap land, no early discard spell. He doesn't really have 1-mana creatures, so it's just discard spell or nothing for his first turn. Justin, on the other hand, like you were saying, really wants to have a turn 1 play a lot of the time.
Yeah, so here's the Thoughtseize. Brickman has 3 2-mana creatures and a Mantis Rider. I wouldn't be shocked to see him take the Mantis Rider just so it's harder for Brickman to effectively curve out, but maybe his hand is a little land light and he needs to operate under the Thalia. Or he can't operate under the Thalia.
Right. So yeah, I definitely feel like you think that kind of the choices here are Mantis Rider or Thalia, and yet that's not what we see selected here. So I wonder, does choosing the freebooter suggest that Stanislav only has one removal spell?
That's yeah, either one removal spell or one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's kind of what I would draw from that, just on instinct, to say there's probably only one removal spell if he's trying to protect it.
I agree with that assessment. It's weird. If he had another removal spell, he likely would have played the first discard spell on 1. Or if he had another discard spell, he would have played another discard spell on 1. So he can't discard the Mantis Rider. I'm not really sure what Stanislav's plan is. Okay. So
that's interesting.
Now.
That's interesting because my impression was that since the Thoughtseize came on turn 2, that it was drawn on turn 2. But you think it's possible that that Stanislav chose to not play it on turn 1?
No, I'm saying that I think that he did not have it, and he wasn't planning to discard the Mantis Rider, so that's why I don't understand the play exactly. It's because he almost certainly doesn't have another discard spell. But yeah, I would agree that he drew the Thoughtseize on turn 2.
Okay, so we'll see Justin finally getting a chance to develop a little bit here. We're going to see 2 cards. We has the option here of playing the Mantis Rider or the 1-drop and 2-drop, and he's choosing to try and start building a wider board here.
I like this play from Brickman. If Stanislav does have another 1-mana removal spell, which is unlikely given that he took the freebooter, but like you might as well play around it, I suppose. Then getting your Mantis Rider lightning bolted would be catastrophic.
Yeah, that would have been really bad because the humans deck wants to get on the board, and if that was the scenario, we'd be sitting there untapping on turn 4 with no cards on the board, and that's not what we're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
This, however, is not ideal either, as a Lightning Skelemental is going to come down from Mr. Goluvchuk here, and this is maybe not devastating, but this is pretty bad.
Yeah, I can't say this. I can't say that I think that this was on Brickman's radar here. Maybe he would have played differently if he knew that he was going to get Lightning Skelemental and he values the Mantis Rider highly, but Champion of the Parish is oftentimes better than Mantis Rider because it can just become bigger if the flying isn't relevant.
Right. It's already the same size right now, and so Justin is far ahead on the board, but with an empty hand versus Stanislav with 3 cards, you can't feel too comfortable right now if you're Justin.
No, absolutely not. He does get a redraw with the Horizon Canopy, but even then he's so low on resources after being mulliganed, mind rotted, and Thoughtseize, then he doesn't even have any mana to work with.
Mm-hmm. So we see draw a Noble Hierarch here, and Justin considering cantripping off of the Horizon Canopy first, and is going to just go ahead and play the Hierarch and pump both of his creatures actually.
Yeah, this is definitely good to do it in this order. Intuitively, you'd want to draw first, but Stanislav plays discard spells, and just making sure that you're hellbent, and so you can't, if you were to draw like a 2-mana or 3-mana spell that you couldn't play, which is like overwhelmingly likely versus another 1-drop.
Right, and also not just the Thoughtseize, but also if there was, I don't know, at this point, if you're Justin and you've seen Lightning Skelemental, do you assume your opponent has Unearth? I'm not sure that you would make that stretch, especially since this isn't a deck that people have played against very many times.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I would assume that he's doing something with Unearth, but now we know for sure that he's unearthing after he's cast one.
So this is going to come through. Justin doesn't lose any cards this time, but loses a good chunk of his life total, and he's down to 7, which isn't a lot, but Stanislav's at 11, and Justin actually has a significant board, and maybe I kind of feel like this game is turned around a little bit, and from here, I think I would actually choose to be on Justin's side of things.
I agree, especially if Stanislav's play on 5 mana was just to deal 6 effectively irrelevant damage to Justin, then I'd feel pretty good if I'm in Brickman's side. We still have to see if Stanislav has any instants that he can play, but gotta say that he looks pretty far ahead here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a ton of damage coming through, and is going to put Stanislav on one more turn to deploy whatever he's got. 2 cards in hand, you're right. If there's no removal spell coming down right here, then Stanislav's probably holding lands, because if he had creatures, they would have been in play, and if he had, I mean, I guess he'd be holding discard spells. Oh, okay, well, we do have a removal spell. Champion of the Parish dies, and that actually saves quite a bit of life.
Yeah, that's a huge box to check there. If he didn't have a removal spell, he would be basically dead. He would need to draw a card that draws multiple cards. Like, then we're looking at his outs being like Seasoned Pyromancer into stuff, as opposed to just like a Fatal Push or whatever to get him back into it.
Right, so now we're just facing down, well, still an attacker for 5 damage, but that's not lethal. So if we can come up with really anything here, if we can muster another removal spell, Liliana. Well, so you're kind of like shaking your head, like Liliana's not ideal in this scenario.
No, not with these two hierarchs, and that's part of the strength of Noble Hierarch, is just as a card, is you just get incidental bodies, which are valuable for so many reasons in Magic, either pressuring planeswalkers, sacrificing them to edicts, or whatever, just chump blocking, and sacrificing it to an edict here is pretty brutal, because the actual threat here is Athalia's Lieutenant, not the Hierarch.
Right, so we have an attack. We have a potential attack for 4 damage here for Justin. Are we going to finish off Liliana? I think I'm probably choosing to attack Stanislav directly here. You agree?
I do agree. I think if Stanislav had another removal spell, he would have used it the prior turn, and I think this Liliana was his draw for the turn. The plus doesn't matter, and if he gets to minus, you can just sack the Hierarch.
Right.
So I just want to force him to peel again.
Yeah, so we're looking at Stanislav needs something right now. Certainly a number of cards would do it, and Ransack the Lab is going to give him some options. There are any number of cards that would help here. There's no trample, there's no evasion, so even Young Pyroman, any creature at all, Seasoned Pyromance, basically anything besides Lightning Skelemental.
Yeah, I mean any creature, any removal spell.
What do we have? Activating Castle Lockthwain is not going to get it done.
That would not be ideal.
Okay, well, we don't have anything. So that is game 1 in the books for Justin Brickman. I'll take a minute to mention one of our sponsors here, KMC Sleeves, providing product to the top 4 finishers of this event, as well as once we get real-life events running again, any Nerd Rage event that you're at, KMC Sleeves are available at the booth at a discount. So feel free to pick some up. It's a high-quality product, and something that, really, if you're in the sleeve market, it's a great business, because every player needs these forever. And Hyper Mat's quality product. So now we have the sideboards. We're looking to see what kind of changes we're making. Justin Brickman's Humans deck, we've got kind of some disruptive creatures, and then alongside 2 Dismembers and 2 Damping Spheres. And what we're going to see here is all 4 copies of Auriok Champion and the 3 Plague Engineers coming in. And what Justin's going to pull out are the 3 Kitesail Freebooters, which maybe makes some sense because they're fairly easy for Stanislav to kill, as well as the Phantasmal Images, which again, if there's ever a creature that's easy to kill, it's Phantasmal Image, which you just have to basically breathe on and it dies. And then the Casting Malcontents comes out also, which maybe there's not a lot of confidence that we can build a wide board versus this removal, so we're going to try and just concentrate on cards that are powerful on their own, which is maybe not what the humans in the main deck do, but really the sideboard ones coming in, that is what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, Auriok Champion in particular is going to be really strong against Black-Red Skelemental. It's a 1/1 with protection from Stanislav's whole deck. Skelemental can still trample over it, but I think the life would be able to keep him out of range, and he can never remove it unless it's the only creature on a board, and he can Liliana minus it. But over on Stanislav's side, we're going to see him bringing in the 3 copies of Collective Brutality, the 2 Plague Engineers, the Liliana Last Hope, and he's going to board out all 6 discard spells, 4 Thoughtseize and 2 Inquisition of Kozilek. Collective Brutality is a little inefficient, but it does seem better to me than Inquisitions. Maybe on the play you want discard spells to take like Ether Vial and take their 1-drop, because Brutality is really, really inefficient a lot of the time, and most of the time it doesn't even kill like a big Champion of the Parish, a big Thalia's Lieutenant, or a Mantis Rider that you care about a lot. Plague Engineers are obviously a slam dunk because it's against a tribal deck with a bunch of X1s, so of course you want to be doing Plague Engineers, and Liliana Last Hope is also obviously very good against X1s. You can just tick up, kill a Phantasmal Image, which Brickman has boarded out, but you can also kill a Noble Hierarch or a 1/1 or a Thalia or whatever. So I think I like how both players sideboarded here. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it sounds good. So let's go ahead and see how the rest of this plays out. We have game 2. We're going to have Stanislav on the play this time. And we'll see if... Justin won that game on 6 cards. It looks like both players kept 7 this time.
Yeah, Brickman's hand looks amazing. You have a 1-drop, you have Auriok Champion, which I think is one of the best cards in the matchup. Well, Ether Vial was a good draw. And Reflector Mage coming off that Vial at instant speed is going to be pretty critical, I think.
So we're... In this scenario where you have Noble Hierarch and Ether Vial, Ether Vial is almost always going to be the play. Are there scenarios that jump to your mind that would where you would think I would definitely play the Hierarch first, or is that just never going to happen?
It can occasionally happen if you feel like you need to pressure your opponent and you have a Mantis Rider that you want to play on turn 2.
Sure.
I don't understand Brickman's play of Horizon Canopy over Cavern of Souls there, because he can still name human with... maybe he wants to save that as a black source. That would make sense to me if he wants to save that for a black source for the Plague Engineer, because it's not a human. Okay, that makes sense.
All right, so we have Stanislav with a slow start here off 7 cards. Now, his deck is not blinding fast, but still, the first 2 turns with no action is probably not what he was dreaming of.
Yeah, you got to assume that Stanislav is holding removal spells here, and Brickman didn't play a creature on 1, and he played a creature with protection from every card in his deck. And Stanislav thought that he had the dream spot here where you actually get to kill the Auriok Champion with Liliana the Veil, but Noble Hierarch coming in off the Vial is pretty brutal counter.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. For Stan's side, kind of feel for him a little bit here, because this is Auriok Champion is a terrifying card for his deck. He has Liliana, but one of the few ways he can actually set this up to deal with it, and then a stinky little Noble Hierarch, same as last game, just jumps into play and absorbs Liliana's wrath.
Yep. And now this Auriok even gets to kill the Liliana, so he doesn't even get to keep it around for another turn. Just absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
I'd like to see this Meddling Mage name a 1-mana removal spell. Lightning Bolt makes a lot of sense. Lightning Skelemental makes less sense.
I would actually be interested in naming Plague Engineer myself, because that's one of the few things that can knock out the Auriok Champion.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, if you think that Auriok Champion is just going to carry you, then you should probably just name Plague Engineer, as that feels like one of his few answers.
So Justin's giving us a lot of thought here. From a commentary perspective, it would be great if Justin names a card that's not in Stan's deck. And that is possible, given that deck lists are not public information, but...
Yeah. Looks like he is going to go for the Plague Engineer. He's trying to spell... Oh, nope, he got to Lightning... Okay, I don't fully understand going for Lightning Skelemental here. Like, naming Lightning Skelemental feels worse to me than just playing Plague Engineer and naming whatever its creature type is. It's presumably Elemental.
Is it possible Justin didn't name Plague Engineer because he doesn't know how to spell it?
I don't think that's possible. I do think it's possible, actually, because I do know Justin, but but I don't think it's likely.
No, probably not. All right, so we have the choice made here, and we're coming in to finish off Liliana, which killing Liliana is not a concern this turn, but if we don't kill it now, we're going to have to kill it later, so we might as well get it off the board.
Yeah. Because otherwise it's just going to threaten sacrificing one of your creatures. You don't really want to trade a card for a card here. That's just exactly what Stan's deck is trying to do. So yeah, and the 1 point of damage to his face is just almost irrelevant. So easy to take off Liliana there.
All right, so Justin again got kind of a board established on, actually faster than last game, but still, we're on turn 3, we have a couple creatures on the board, and Stan on turn 4, we're really needing some action here. This is something, it's not exciting, but Collective Brutality kill Meddling Mage is, at least we're preventing Justin from snowballing out of control.
Yeah, and that signals that he might have he might have a Fatal Push in his hand. Aether Vial is not a great draw here, but maybe even if he doesn't have Fatal Push, he might still kill the 2/2 just to minimize Brickman's amount of humans on the board.
Mm-hmm. So Justin kind of flooding on Aether Vials and Canopy lands here, which isn't the worst thing ever, but it is going to just slow him down a little bit.
Yeah, he's definitely slowed down here, but that's part of the power of these Canopy lands, is that in these slower, grindy matchups like this, you just have like 5 less lands in your deck than your opponent.
So Stan, we haven't really seen Stan get going with anything permanent. We've seen Lightning Skelemental, we've seen removal spells. He could really use something that's, nothing he has is going to be able to block at this point. But still, if we had a consistent source of damage, or just a way of feeling like we were, on the board with something.
Yeah, he sort of failed to get anything assembled here. Like a Seasoned Pyromancer would have been awesome this turn. Liliana Last Hope looks fine, I suppose, but it can't target this Auriok Champion. I assume we're just going to see him plus on nothing, but maybe he'll roll down and try to just spike a creature off the top 2, but then it just dies to the Auriok, so that doesn't seem very good to me.
Yeah, the plussing on nothing here is, given the board state, there's pretty decent expectation that the Liliana will actually survive the turn. So even though we're getting it on the board, and this will effectively prevent a lot of damage because Justin will be forced to attack it, and so Stan will get a reprieve on his life total, and then going forward maybe he can find some useful targets for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And naming Elemental with this Plague Engineer is actually super nice because it gets young Pyromancer tokens, and it also gets Lightning Skelemental itself. So now, like, a good portion of Stan's deck is turned off just by this Plague Engineer being in play.
Yeah, that is unpleasant. So Justin deploying and well cracking a Horizon Canopy, playing the Waterlogged Grove, and has actually a couple 1-drops, including Noble Hierarchy play, but they don't actually increase the damage output for this turn. So he's just going to go ahead and hold on to them for now.
Goes for a Lightning Bolt on Plague Engineer, try to keep Liliana's loyalty high. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, definitely. Also, like you were saying, that Plague Engineer is locking out any number or some creatures in Stan's deck, and he wants to get those reactivated. This is going to be tough, though. I mean, Justin, again, with a super slow clock, but he has some disruption in hand, some hope of building the clock as the game goes forward, and Stan just doesn't have much going on.
Yeah, this Liliana Last Hope is normally just a nightmare against humans, but this Auric Champion is just like... It just can't be targeted by it. If Brickman ever draws a Thalia's Lieutenant, it's going to become a 2-2. A 2-2 with protection from your whole deck is also very hard to deal with. Seasoned Pyromancer is going to get to potentially dig him to whatever his answer may be.
Yeah, finally we get something going. Justin's going to gain a little bit of life, but that's probably the least of Stan's concerns right now. And then we're likely to see... I mean, there is the Liliana Last Hope is going to prevent the Hierarch and the Champion from going onto the board main phase. So that's probably why we didn't see them last turn, but they will... The Aether Vial can dump Justin's choice, probably the Champion of the Parish, onto the board at the end of the turn here.
Yeah, I have to imagine it's Champion of the Parish. I wouldn't have hated if Justin had just played Champion of the Parish off the Cavern of Souls, and then when Stanislav goes for the plus, then you just Vial in Hierarch, but maybe he wants the Champion of the Parish to have power going in this turn, and he's fine just Reflector Maging this.
Yeah, that's definitely okay, too. Another thing I'm just realizing, the Stan potentially could have done, we saw... young Seasoned Pyromancer come into play and then discard a second copy of itself. The Liliana could have downticked to pick up that other copy, which, if Stan isn't confident he can protect the Liliana, may have been worthwhile. But if he thinks he can keep it alive, then the Liliana being in play is more valuable than the Pyromancer.
Mm. So like not having made that play, it makes you think that like Stan may have a fatal push or something for a potential Champion of the Parish, or he just thought Brickman was on empty.
Yeah, he may be in a position where when you get so far behind, you just have to hope things are going to line up correctly, and just if you get to the point where if Justin has anything, Stan's board's going to fall apart. So just assume Justin has nothing and play as if you're right.
Yeah, absolutely, because sometimes you can't beat it, and even if you're like he's 90% to have it, you're 0% to beat it. So like. Mm-hmm. You just play for that 10% where he doesn't have it.
All right, so the Thalia's Lieutenant is the draw, and this is going to make the Liliana unable to kill anything. Like you were saying earlier, it's going to make the Auric Champion a bigger threat. It can actually attack for 3 unblockable with Noble Hierarch now. That I don't think we'll see that, but it is an option.
Yeah. If Stan manages to go up the ground such where Champion of the Parish and Reflector Mage aren't good attackers, then Auric Champion can just come through for 3. And can't block it, can't target it. So
we're going to come in here for what seems like a decent amount of damage, and then, unfortunately for Stan, it's going to become a much bigger allotment of damage after, we'll see on the timing, but certainly before damage is dealt, this Thalia's Lieutenant is going to end up on the board.
Presumably, yeah. I think we're going to see the Seasoned Pyromancer step in front of the Champion of the Parish. We might just see Liliana die here. Yeah, and this is going to be brutal, because the reason to chump is to protect your Liliana, and now that Thalia's Lieutenant's in play, then you just chump for nothing, basically, because Liliana gets to live. Mm-hmm.
And Seasoned Pyromancer dying in a block isn't the biggest deal because it has the ability to come back, but because there's already one in the graveyard, we're not really gaining anything by having another one die.
Right, and it's just so inefficient when you're this far behind.
Yeah. The bringing back a couple of tokens to block here is not going to do anything to bring Stan back in the game here. Ransack the lab, okay, maybe we can find something, I don't know what we're exactly hoping for here. Plague Engineers can trade with the Champion and slow down the damage input, that's something.
Plague Engineer would be good, that's probably one of Stan's better cards. Short of that, Skelementals don't do anything. Brickman's at 27, has no cards in his hand, so that's not super relevant. Unearthing a Seasoned Pyromancer might get you somewhere.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely gonna be tough though. This is not a position that Stan's deck looks well built to come back from.
No. So Stan doesn't have like Unearth. Okay, Fatal Push I guess keeps him in the game a little bit, but Brickman still has 4 creatures, and with the counter on it, Noble Hierarch isn't even just a blanket anymore. Like,
yeah, this is a sizable attack. This looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 right now, which is almost half of Stan's life total.
mm-hmm.
So the fact that it's not half is significant, but even so, this is gonna be tough to climb out of.
Yeah, Justin appears to be a huge favorite here. Even with another removal spell as his last card in hand. Okay, K-Command to kill that and rebuy Seasoned Pyromancer is one of the cards that helps get him out of this, because Seasoned Pyromancer could chain into a few more removal spells next turn. But if his card was just a Terminate, trade for one thing, I don't think it was going to be good enough. But K-Command is definitely very good there. That's right. Meddling Mage is a sick draw, though.
Yeah,
wow.
that is brutal, as Justin has, well, not full information, but I'm sorry, he is full information, as Stan only has 1 card in hand. So Meddling Mage can lock that out, and the one in the graveyard can still activate to make tokens, but again, that's not going to catch Stan up. What we need is a sweep, a damnation, something to get rid of this Oriox champion alongside the rest of these kind of nuisance little creatures, which are Noble Hierarch is a 1/2, but it's getting in, and unopposed, this damage from the 3/4 Effector Mage, a 1/2 Noble Hierarch, and a 2/2 Oriox champion adds up fast.
Yeah, and Stan snap plays the land there, presumably. Ooh, I kind of thought that he was gonna draw a card with Castle Lockthwain there. I don't know what he could hit, maybe Plague Engineer to kind of get back into it, but I don't think that this play is ever really helping you progress, right? Especially main phasing it is super weird to me, but it doesn't really matter too much.
Well, certainly it may not, and a Mantis Rider off the top, I don't know that Justin needed this, but it's certainly something he's probably happy to see, as it's going to significantly increase the incoming damage here.
Yeah, that one all but locks it up.
Without the Mantis Rider, we may have been in a spot where Stan could consider double blocking the Meddling Mage to trade off with it. But now with the Mantis Rider on the board, Justin can really almost do whatever he wants. Yeah.
I mean, his attacks almost don't matter at this point. Like,
so he does hold back the Meddling Mage, which is reasonable. I'm not going to call it a mistake, but it's definitely...
Yeah,
it's felt like it's possible that you could have attacked there.
Yeah, Stan would have gone to 1 if he double blocked. He wouldn't be able to use his fetch land or activate Castle Lockthwain, so he would need to Seasoned Pyromancer into stuff. It seems fine to me to not attack with Meddling Mage there.
Uh-huh.
It seems like you unlock more out, so I actually like the holding back there, I think.
And the following turn, the 2 damage really isn't going to matter, because Stan is very dead whether 1 or 2 of his creatures get killed this turn or blocked. So this is probably going to be it for Mr. Goluvchuk, unless, let's see, if he has 2 cards in hand, can he find something to pull his way out? No, he does not. Justin Brickman wins the match and will advance to the round of 8. So congratulations to him. Again, the players are playing, this is a charity event. The winner of the event will receive $100 to donate to whatever charitable endeavor they find of personal interest to them. And congratulations to Justin Brickman. We have now completed the left side of the bracket. So the players in the round of 8 from here will be David Lamb, Blair Splett, John Philip Whetstone, and Justin Brickman. And in the coming days, we'll see how the right side plays out, and then eventually we'll move into the round of 8. So, again, the NRG Series MTGO Invitational, thank you for joining us. I believe we have one more thing to say. Yes, you can follow us on nerdragegaming.com, also on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and as I learned in the middle of a commentary round last year, Instagram. And so we're available on all those things, on all those mediums. If you're looking to interact with us, if you're looking to buy cards, if you're looking for deck lists that are available in this, that have been played in the series or in our past events, check us out at nerdragegaming.com. Otherwise, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next round.